Good evening and welcome. My name is Gerard Mitchell, and I'm chairperson of the Prince Edward Island Electoral Boundaries Commission, which has been established under the Electoral Boundaries Act. I'd like to introduce to you the other members of the commission. On my immediate right is Lynn Murray, QC. On my far right is Libby Shaw. On my immediate left is Kerry Carpenter, and on my far left is Elmer MacDonald. I'm going to make just a few opening remarks, then turn the evening over to you, the members of the public, to make submissions, ask questions, or make presentations. We're here to seek your input and your advice. The function of the Commission is to review the 27 electoral districts of the province and to make recommendations to the Legislative Assembly concerning changes as to areas, boundaries, and names of electoral districts. In determining the area to be included in and fixing the boundaries of a district, the Commission is required by the Electoral Boundaries Act to take into consideration the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the data from the Register of Electors, the polling divisions from the last general election, geographical features, information pertaining to population, community of interest, municipal boundaries, and public input, plus any guidelines or criteria proposed for consideration by resolution of the Legislative Assembly. In addition to all that, the Commission is allowed to take into account any factors it considers relevant. As part of the process, the Commission is required to hold public meetings such as this throughout the province to enable people to make representations as to the area and boundaries of any district. So far, we have scheduled 14 public meetings to hear from people across the province. And the Commission is to make its report to the Legislative Assembly within 6 months of its establishment, which in this case would take us to June the 6th. There is provision in the legislation for an extension of that time for up to 3 months, but we're hoping not to use any part of that extension. The recommendations of the last Electoral Boundaries Commission were not accepted by the Legislative Assembly, but I must stress a significant difference this time in that the Legislative Assembly is required by law to accept the recommendations of this Commission. Accordingly, it's very important for people to come forward to this Commission and make their concerns known to us so that we can take them into account. It's also important to recognize that the boundaries we set are intended to last through 3 election cycles. So we have to take into account population trends as well as present numbers. The Commission has no authority to add to or subtract from the number of districts. That stays at 27. We're concerned only with changes to the areas, boundaries, and names of the 27 existing districts. We have no mandate beyond that. As you may have noticed, the Commission brought 3 maps to the meeting. One shows the present boundaries of the 27 districts. The other maps are examples of what the 27 districts could possibly look like, given that there's clearly a need for changes. The 2 sample maps are intended to engage discussion at these meetings. Neither of those sample maps has been decided upon or adopted by the Commission. A final map might and probably will look quite different from either one of the samples. The colored districts on the samples are the possible new districts. The heavy black outline that you see is an overlay of the existing districts so that you can more easily see how the districts might be adjusted. When I say that change is necessary, it is because some districts are clearly presently too big and others are too small. Presently, we have about 100,000 registered electors in the province, and if we were to make all districts equal, each would have about 3,700. The average number of voters is important because the discretion of the Commission is constrained by both the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and by the Electoral Boundaries Act itself. The Charter, which is the supreme law of the land, requires that any deviation from the average must be justified on the grounds that such deviation contributes to the better government of the population as a whole, giving due regard to regional issues. The Electoral Boundaries Act, on the other hand, provides that no district can be above or below the average by more than 25%. At present, 3 districts are more than 25% above or below the average. Those are Stratford is at 43 or 44%, District 9 is at about 35%, and District 24 is 28%. 5 more districts are over 20%, 4 more are over 15%, 1 more is over 10%. So this means that at least 13 districts could easily be considered currently too big or too small. Keep in mind that the Supreme Court of Canada, interpreting Section 3, the right to vote in the Charter, has decided that the only variances allowable in the context of electoral boundaries are those that can be justified in the name of more effective representation for the population as a whole. Voter parity, then, is of prime importance, but the Supreme Court also acknowledges that it is not the only factor to be taken into account. Effective representation is the overall goal of the exercise, and it cannot be achieved without taking into account countervailing factors such as municipal boundaries, population growth and decline, community history, group identity, and minority language and cultural representation. So numbers are important in establishing electoral boundaries, but establishing electoral boundaries is not simply a numbers exercise. At the end of the day, the goal is effective representation. There may well be factors that justify departure from strict parity. Not everything that counts can be counted. And that ends my opening remarks. But before turning it over to you, I want to point out that Nick McQueen is here with us as our map man, and he will help us out as the evening goes along, or if you have questions, he may be able to help you and show you more on the map that he's manipulating there. Now I want to invite any of you who are here to come to the mic. Please identify yourself, because everything is being recorded for the public record, and we'd be glad to hear from you. Please feel free to come forward.
I guess I'll start off to break the ice. I'd like to welcome the commissioners to District 15, and as you know, I've got a slight vested interest in this district. This district geographically is basically 80% rural, 20% urban, and that's kind of reversed on a population basis. And I noticed from the sample maps that we're kind of squeezed from both ends, both the western top of the district and from Capitol Drive out to the bypass. And all I'd like to do is kind of bring up some of the governance issues that I've had the past few years in this area in regards to representing a large urban city and a smaller municipality, MIlton Vale Park. And sometimes those two entities kind of clash, and it kind of puts me as the MLA in a conflict of interest. And so I try to keep both foot in each canoe as best I can and not spread them too far apart. But anyway, I guess I'm saying, like, Mr. Parker and I worked diligently with Mr. Parker in regards to, we brought a water and sewer project to MIlton Vale Park, and there was a lot of negotiations with the city, et cetera, and sometimes that, the city's interests and MIlton Vale Parks are a little different in regards to what objectives they're trying to do. But anyway, we're able to move around with this infrastructure, third, federal government, provincial government, and the community. And we did get this water and sewer established, but it was a lot of work, and I guess that I'd have to say possibly that trying to represent both entities on an equal basis, I probably erred on the side of MIlton Vale Park because the city was a bigger entity and I thought maybe they need a little bit more protection. But when we put this water and sewer project in, it was kind of like we come out the Lower Malpeck Road, and this side of the Sleepy Hollow Road, the people on the left side going west out of town were subject to being dug up the same as the right side of the road, but the right side of the road were allowed to hook onto water and sewer where the left side were not. So all as I'm saying is that possibly, and one of your, I know population and how you draw these boundaries up is important, but I just like you to take consideration into that it's hard for the representative to represent two entities in a fair and impartial way. So that's kind of the area I got stuck into, but it seemed to work out. But maybe not to everybody's satisfaction, but we did get the job done. So I'd like to you to take that into consideration. So the representation for this area is best served. Is there any questions you'd like to ask me?
No, I think you're expressing a sentiment that we've been here and at different locations. The same thing, that maybe the urban district should be urban and rural districts rural, because there's sort of a built-in, when you have a blended or a mixed district, you have a sort of built-in conflict of interest sometimes. Maybe
my situation is more unique, or maybe there's more pressure on it due to the fact that one of them is a large corporation and the other one is smaller in size, and that's where part of my problem comes in. Maybe it wouldn't be so paramount in other areas where it's municipal versus a bigger entity, but in this case it was kind of like David and Goliath sort of thing, But anyway, David won. So, go ahead, Lynn.
So, Mr. Dumble, do you represent people only in those two municipalities, the City of Charlottetown and MIlton Vale Park, or are there other communities that you include as well? Well,
right now, I go out to Weekly River, but you've compressed it down that I probably would stop at out by just the other side. I'm trying. Where? Artford Crossroad. That's what I go out only as far as the Artford Crossroads, but originally, right now I go out to Weekly River.
And so Weekly River is a community in itself. It's not. Is it in MIlton Vale Park?
All districts, District 9, District 15, and the other district. What's your district, Laura? 18. All meet in Weekly River. okay?
Okay.
So, you know, like, probably losing Weekly River, it's not going to be that much of a change, because both sides of the Ortford Crossroads are rural. The biggest thing is that it's probably going from Capitol Drive and being pushed west to the bypass highway. Okay, that's a large chunk of population there, because there's 3 subdivisions that would be clipped off the district on the east.
But Mr. Dunville, don't take too much from
No,
these maps. These are not in stone by any stretch of the
No,
imagination, so.
No, I know. I'm just explaining
Yeah.
out those examples and just kind of giving you food for thought in regards to what I ran into in regards to representing the big and the small.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Commissioners.
I'd like to welcome the Commission, District 9. My name is Pat Banks, and I'm the PC President in District 9. And I guess just a couple of things. I'm wondering, I look at the map and I realize it is a proposed, but
No, we wouldn't even, we wouldn't call it a proposal.
not proposed.
No,
it's
it's just a sample.
sample. Okay, the sample, you can't really see very well. Where would it would actually streets, I guess, in terms of 9, because I realize that we're number 2 on the overpopulation part, but I'm just wondering where it would go on the boundary line as far as a street. Has that been determined when you kind of drew that out? One of the things that it will affect us in 9 will be our executive. If I look at it, it looks to me like the area I live in and 2 other members on our District 9 executive would be no longer in District 9. So just trying to get a handle on where that line roughly is.
Where are you?
District 9.
No, but where,
Oh, I'm on Woodley Drive.
you're on Woodley Drive. That's East Royalty.
East Royalty, right?
Yeah. East Royalty?
Yes.
Yeah. It's trying to get to it there.
One of the things we've been hearing is that we need to keep municipalities contained within municipalities.
Yes.
And currently what we have in the Charlottetown area is five ridings that are contained completely in the municipality, and 3 that take in part municipality of Charlottetown and part rural.
Okay.
That'd be 15, 9, and 8.
Yes. Because I would think, Krista, would it not, the majority of our population would be in that area that would go, yeah. In the area that looks like it's moving to another district? Mm-hmm. I think he's getting her zoned in there. District 9. And that's the sample change, correct?
Yeah.
I think that follows I think the sample map follows the boundaries of the municipality for the most part.
You know, I realize that with with the 35 plus over that, changes have to be made. So I guess I'm just trying to get a handle on what that change possibly could be when I meet with my executive.
Yeah, well, I think, as Lynn had just said, one of the strong sentiments we're hearing is that make municipal and rural.
Rural. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
That's what we're hearing. I'm not
Yes.
saying that's what we're going to end up with, but
No,
that's-
I understand.
That's what
Thank
we're
you.
hearing. Thank you. Someone else?
Hi, I'm Hal Parker from District 9. And a couple of things, I guess. I assume you're using the new census data when you're doing the calculations.
Yes.
You'll probably notice that MIlton Vale Park has actually gone down in population. And all 3 of these districts that we're talking about here that have urban and rural populations, the rural aspect of those districts will probably remain fairly static because of the special planning area. So I can't imagine it changing much. Further, this new thrust towards amalgamation of the communities. I mean, next time they may be drawing the lines along community lines rather than,
Yes.
you know, the city of Charlottetown will have so many districts and
Right.
everything else will be rural communities because they're aiming for 4,000 in 3 years from now. Hopefully the number will be pretty close to 4,000 for each of the districts. And I think, you know, I appreciate how tough your task is here because, you know, the municipality thing will change things dramatically for the next pass. But like I say, as long as the special planning area is in place, these rural attachments here in 9, 15, and 8 will not change very much.
Not change much.
So take that into consideration, please, when you're making your adjustments.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Gordon Ellis. I live in Stanhope. I'm part of District 9. Just wanted to, I guess I'll be reiterating some of the things that you've already just spoken about, making rural, making for consistency among the electoral districts. We realize that our numbers are going to go down, and I've just seen the new map of the proposal. So I'm not sure, I haven't really studied it that much with the recent proposal, and I understand that might change as well.
We don't call them proposals. They're just samples that we did at a very early stage so that we could engage people more readily in the, at these meetings, because the last commission didn't have maps when they went around, and they found that to be a drawback. So don't put too much in the samples. They're just samples.
Okay. I just want to add a little more. Our proposal that we forwarded from the council from the North Shore, the community North Shore. Our community is made up of Stanhope, West Cofed, and Cofed Road. And in our official plan, we really emphasize the fact that we want to keep our rural nature, the characteristics of the community. And in that respect, we feel that we might be better served if there is some changes to our boundary, that they would include communities that are in the same vein, such as Grand Tracadie or Mill Cove or whatever in that area. The other thing that would like to add is that we have the same fire company, fire department, North Shore Fire Department serves all that. And we think that that would be better served if one representative was, rather than possibly 2 representatives. Right now, the North Shore Fire Company serves Marshfield and Bedford and almost to Mount Stewart. So
that would take your district sort of east rather than south.
that's our proposal. We think that we'd have a more consistent district if we did have our boundaries looked at as going east as opposed to going south. We have, if I understand it correctly, we have some, I guess, suburban areas in our district right now, and those are not as consistent with the rest of the district. I don't know what the percentage is, but it would be a small percent of the district is basically suburban Charlottetown area. The other thing I'd like to just add is that it was just referred to as a potential for amalgamation for communities in and around our area. It's only in the initial stages, and I'm not going to speak for any community or even ours because we're not at that point. But it would be a benefit, in my opinion, if all those communities that were considered amalgamation were in the same district, which would be District 9. And that would, in particular, that would include Grand Tracadie and going in that direction. There's Pleasant Grove, which is next to us right now, and that is part of it is, or all of it is, I think, in District 9. So we think there'd be some benefit to having a consistency of the district and a rural in nature thing. We have a lot of things in common as far as history and traditions, and you would know that from being part of that area as well. So I think that covers what my points are. Do you have any questions?
Let's see more
Two.
District 8.
How far does that fire company go?
So, Mr. Ellis, looking at District 8, or if you were, your proposal is to expand District 9 going east, and how much of District 8 would you be talking about taking in? All of it to wherever the line is there now?
It's a little hard to say. I think numbers would be part of the equation that
Sure.
you'd be looking at.
Sure.
But I think there is probably the Donaldson Road in that area would be probably a little bit more of a natural connection for us to that area, or perhaps even a little bit farther up. I'm not sure the name of it. Is it the McIntyre Road?
Pretty near up to Bedford.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much up to the Bedford community line, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anything further?
That's nuts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Good evening. My name is Darren Creamer, and I'm with District 8. You'll have to apologize. I got a bit of a cold. I attended the boundary meetings in Charlottetown where your board alluded to changing District 8 dramatically. I thought about it. I went and I discussed with friends, families, and neighbors to get their response and what they thought of changing the district to an urban district instead of rural. And I never came up with anybody that was in favor of it. District 8 really isn't out of proportion in the number of population that we have. Everybody was of the opinion that some continuity or consistency of the district would be good. So my proposal is not to change it. I have heard from a few people that the MLAs are having a difficult time with being able to look after urban and rural, but these MLAs have been reelected numerous times, so they're obviously doing a decent job of juggling both. Dividing the districts up so they're either rural or urban, in my mind, is not improving the people of PEI's idea of centralization. Everything seems to be going to the city. If there's more MLAs with more power all in the city without the rural having a say in it, I don't think it's helping. That's all.
Questions?
So, Mr. Kramer, in District 8, are you in the rural part of it, or are you in the Hillsborough Park?
I'm in the rural part.
You're in the rural part of District 8.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? It's early, it's not dark yet. Do any of you have suggestions, for example, along the lines that Mr. Ellis spoke of about, the direction of the district may go, or any district for that matter? I don't mean just 9, but 15, any of the ones. You'll take it. Yeah. Well, if there's nothing further, we've got an early evening. Oh.
It's not about the districts. Lucy Moore-Kunis. This is more about what the commission can do.
Yes.
I think it's important to let people know what happened when you designed the first 2 maps. So the first map I just found out from your mapping guy there is pure numbers. So it's not realistic map at all. And the second map, or the version 3, has actually got a few more variables added to it. I think that's important to know, that map 1 is not even on a possibility. It's just totally impractical. And on that vein, I think that it's important to post the changes that were talked about today on a sample map as soon as possible and upload it onto your website, because I understand that there's been a lot of suggestions at the Stratford meeting, and that would be really, really good to see. It would be good for people who talked here to actually see what their ideas look like on a map. Thank you.
Yeah, there are lots of, there are good ideas coming at every meeting, but to deal with your question about the 2 sample maps that we came up with, you're right, the first map was done just basically on the numbers and around the 3,700 sort of thing. The second map, we as a group just sitting around the table, the commission by itself, tried to fathom out what would be considered sort of the neighborhoods as we understood them, without at that point having heard from anybody or anybody's submissions. This was just purely on our own to have something to start out with. That's as simple as that. As to whether or not we'll be posting any more maps, there's been no decision about that.
I think it is a good idea, though, just from a knowing that your suggestion has reached the ears of somebody and then see it actually look like on a map. It's good feeling.
See it in real print.
Yes.
Yep.
We've been told that we should be looking at communities of interest. We've been told that we should be looking at municipal boundaries. We've been told a variety of things. So if, for example, we take Mr. Ellis's suggestion and start doing it, it's going to change a whole other group of ridings as well. So it has as the chair said, it has a domino effect. And so I'm not sure that we'd be taking anything from this meeting and putting it into something, because then chances are we'd be at map 4, and this is meeting 8 out of 14 or more. Your comments have been heard, and I'm taking, I don't know whether you've noticed, but I'm taking extensive notes on what the comments are, and
we also have the benefit of the audio recordings, which we listen to afterwards as well.
so.
Yeah, my thing is that if it were possible for a movable map to be on the website and people be able to manipulate, just like, okay, we want more of a North Shore. Well, what's that going to look like? And if I do that, what's going to change? You can set it up where you have a certain number that's supposed to be achieved. I mean, technology is wonderful.
Yes,
So-
but we're not really operating.
I realize that. It's
At
an
that
idea.
level just yet. We're in a listening stage. We're taking in information. Other than the 2 samples, we really haven't put anything on paper.
I'm just suggesting that it might be nice to see what it looks like. You get a lot
I
of ideas.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry to prolong your evening, but Hal Parker.
Yeah.
District 9. I have some sympathy for Mr. Dunville in the fact that he's representing urban and rural areas, but we don't want, I don't think, the province to become an us versus them kind of situation. And quite frankly, after hearing what I've heard this evening, and I mean, you guys have heard it 8 times before, maybe it'd be better to put some urban in every one of the districts so that the members realize that there's a substantial difference between the country and the city. We've gone through having the city impose on us a well field.
What?
A well field
Oh,
out here in MIlton Vale Park.
Yep.
And, it was imposed upon us from a law that's 140 years old, maybe a little antiquated. And we receive no remuneration for losing 5.8 billion gallons of water a year. That's a lot of water. And with virtually no concessions from the city of Charlottetown in the fact that they don't want to guarantee that if somebody's well goes dry, that they'll fix the problem for them, you know. So, you know, it's good to have a little urban-rural knowledge in cases like that where, and I'm also being told that the next 2 well fields are going to be in MIlton Vale Park. So if you multiply 5.8 by 3, you could see that it might be a very serious problem for our district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yet another perspective. That's good. Anybody else?
Any growth areas?
Are there any growth areas that you want to draw to our attention? I mean, I understand that District 9 has been quite a growth area in the last while, getting to where it is, but apart from that, or more specific than that, has anybody got anything to bring to our attention?
The growth areas in 9 would probably be Pleasant Grove area with the large subdivision, 2 large subdivisions. And
There's one now at the end of the Pleasant Grove Road. Where's the other one?
the Maryland subdivision.
Oh, yes, yes, of course.
The other would be the East Royalty, but that would be District
Yeah.
8 and whatever is going to be proposed.
Okay.
I attended put on by the city, a 20-year proposal.
Pat, I'll get you on the mic.
Pat, thanks again. I attended probably a year or more ago. A city had proposed a 20-year plan for the whole of East Royalty, and it was I shouldn't use the word plan. It was talked about. It included street lights and big subdivisions in back of LM Montgomery School. But I really haven't heard much more about that since. But since you did ask the question, that's the only proposed one I've heard about in District 9. And I realize what a difficult task you people have, and there's so many factors that come into it. But, and to the earlier one, you hear the talk about the urban-rural divide, and I guess I'm a firm believer that all of PEI is really rural to a lot of degree. If you don't live in rural, you probably have relatives who are there or relatives in urban.
Or you probably came from there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Down in Kerry's part of the world, actually.
Yeah.
So that's but the only thing that I know of, Mr. Chair, is that proposal is out there.
Thank you. Anything further? Anybody else wish to make a submission to the commission? Going once, twice. We're adjourned.
Thank you.